All right, welcome back for another at-home science experiment. Today, with my helpers, Lorelai and Landon, we're going to be making homemade ice cream and slushies in a bag. So this is something that you can do along with me. If you need materials, you can pause the video, grab your materials, and then unpause and come right back. The first one that we're going to do, Lorelai's going to make a slushie today, and Landon is going to make ice cream. Both of them are the exact same directions, exact same science, just different materials. So the first thing that you will need to gather is you will need to gather either 2 different size bags. You definitely need a gallon size bag and a smaller bag. It could be a sandwich bag. It could be a smaller quart size bag, as long as it's smaller than the gallon zip bag. If you have littles, like Landon, that don't like to have their hands cold, you can also do the outer container as a Ziploc container or a bucket, so their hands don't get frozen by mixing the ice. It does get really cold, so you might want to have a blanket, a towel, oven mitts to protect their little hands from doing it, because it will get rather cold. Okay? If you are doing the slushies, for both slushies and ice cream, you will need about 6 cups of ice. Okay? If you don't have exactly 6, just as much ice as you can possibly have. Okay? You will also need some salt, a sort of salt. We're going to use the Morton ice cream salt. This is just a bigger chunk of salt. Regular household salt that you would find in your salt shakers are just fine as well. You're going to need 6 tablespoons of this. If you are doing just the slushies, you're going to need about a cup of fruit juice. We're going to use fruit punch today, but you can use apple juice, grape juice, orange juice, whatever kind of juice you have on hand. If you are doing the ice cream, you're going to need to have about half a cup of milk. Any kind of milk works. You will need to have vanilla extract, about 1/4 teaspoon of this. And you will need to have 1 tablespoon of sugar. Okay, there's our sugar. All right.
I want to see the sugar.
For the ice cream, if you want to add some fun toppings later, sprinkles, chocolate chips, blueberries, fruit, any kind of toppings, that's going to be at the very end. All right. Now that we have our materials, let's get down to actually making it. The first step you're going to do is you're going to fill your inner bag. So we're going to start with our slushie.
No ice cream.
We're going to do ice cream next. Let me just get sister's juice. So I'm just going to open, this is fruit juice. And we're going to pour 1 cup of fruit juice into our smaller bag.
I'm thirsty. What?
Okay.
Why did you do that?
All right, when you seal your small bag, you're going to try to get all the air out of it. The less air you have, the faster it's going to make your slushy treat. So just be careful. Get a grown-up to help you if you need to. And get all the air out without making spills. Okay? That's step 1 for fruit juice. Step 1 for ice cream is now we're going to measure out 1/2 cup of milk.
Ice cream.
All right, hold this open. Okay. So we're going to measure out 1/2 cup of milk. Some recipes also call, you can add heavy whipping cream to your ice cream for a little bit of a heavier cream mixture. Regular milk just works fine. Okay, so we're going to do 1/2 cup of milk into our small baggie. The ice cream does get extra additives. Hold this, do not spill. Can you hold this? Okay. The ice cream also gets 1/4 teaspoon vanilla extract for that vanilla ice cream flavor. I'm just going to pour just a little bit of that into there.
What is that?
That is vanilla extract. Want to smell it?
I smell it too.
Mmm. Makes good stuff. Okay. And then we're also going to add 1 tablespoon of sugar. And any kind of sugar works.
Is that
We have the sugar and the raw sugar, the white sugar, cane sugar, all of it works the same. Okay? All right. Now that we have all of that, we're going to seal our baggie. Trying to get rid of all the excess air. Make sure that it is nice and sealed. You don't want any spills. Yes. Okay. All right. Hold that. The next step is to prepare your outer bag. Your outer bag, or in this case, our outer bucket, is going to have the salt and the ice. So the first thing we want to do is we want to add our ice to our bag and bucket. You want about anywhere from 6 to 10 cups of ice. You want it pretty full. Okay? We're going to do it at the same time. Okay? Let me count. Landon, have to count. How many is this? 2. 3. Just kind of crush that up a little bit.
5.
That's 4. This is 5. 5 there. And our last one here, 6. We have a little extra. We'll add a little bit extra there. And a little bit extra there. More won't hurt. Okay. Next, we're going to add our salt to our outer bag. So I'm going to open our salt mixture. Just salt. Okay.
Cool.
And we're going to add about 6 tablespoons of salt
Ice cream.
to each bag. Okay? So we'll do one at a time. 1,
Ice cream.
2, 3, 4, 5. And what comes next?
6.
All right. All right, Landon, your turn. 1,
2.
2,
3.
3,
5.
4,
5.
5, and 6. I swear he can count. He's just being silly.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
I swear I teach my own children. Okay, now that we've got our salt in our ice bags, now we're going to take our small baggie and we're going to place it inside the large baggie or large container and seal it. Make sure you try to get, if you're using the bags, make sure you try to get all the air out of the bag. Okay? It is going to be very cold. All right. Once we are in, now the fun begins. Now you shake. Shake. You gotta shake very hard. Okay? This is gonna be about 5 minutes of shaking. So just shake. Yep. Okay. Shake, shake, shake. So I actually paused that so you wouldn't have to hear 5 minutes of them shaking. But in about 5 minutes of shaking these containers, you will be able to see a semi-soft solid. Now here's the important part. When you think that it's solid enough, before you open your special treat, you want to rinse the outside of your small bag under cold water to get the salt off. If you don't, you might get some salt in your ice cream or your slushie, and that's not good. Okay, if you will, quickly run over, go rinse yours out under cold water, okay? Trust me, I've done that before where I've opened it and then I got salt in it and it wasn't very good. But as you can see, after about 5 minutes of shaking or so, it becomes a semi-solid creamy treat. It's no longer a liquid milk mess now, okay? So as soon as we open our treats, we can talk about our science of how this happened. Can I have you do this one too? Okay, I will pour yours in your cup. You go do the ice cream. So here is the slushie. So you can see that the fruit juice is no longer a liquid fruit juice. It is, in fact, a nice little slushy slurry. Okay, so I'm just going to put that in there. We're going to close that off. Oh, that smells good. Okay.
Smell.
And then Landon's has a nice creamy, yummy ice cream. Okay. Landon had asked for blue sprinkles.
Do it.
Okay. And blueberries. So your toppings, okay, that is quite enough there. Okay. Have some ice cream with your sprinkles. So you can put any toppings you want to. You could put fruit, like we're doing here. You can put sprinkles, chocolate syrup, chocolate chips, whatever kind of toppings that you would like, and enjoy your frosty treat, okay? Now, while they're enjoying it, let's talk a little bit about the science of what was going on here, okay? So we know that we had two states of matter. We had our liquids, our milk and our juice, and we had our solids, our ice and our salt. Solids are for things that have particles really tightly packed together. They have the least amount of energy and they don't move as much. They still move, but we can't really tell. Okay, is that yummy? Okay. Our liquids, however, their particles are still close together, but they move around enough to where they flow. So they move more freely than they do in a solid. So we mixed our solids and our liquids together to make a semi-solid. If you were just taking our juice and our milk and put it in the freezer, it would turn into a rock solid block. Not very tasty for ice cream. In order to get ice cream or for a slushie, you want it to be partially frozen. Here's the trick though. Water or ice, it freezes at 32 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 0 degrees Celsius. However, milk and juice have other things in them like sugar, proteins, that don't freeze exactly at 32 degrees. They need to be at a lower temperature to start to freeze process, okay? We can't add ice cubes to it to freeze. We can't put it in the freezer. You need a special ingredient, and that special ingredient is salt, which is kind of weird to think about making ice cream with salt, but here's the science of salt. When you add salt to ice, it actually lowers the freezing point of water. What that means, and which is why we put salt on wintry roads in the winter, is the salt lowers the freezing point to where the water won't freeze as fast and it will melt the ice quicker. Because now instead of freezing at 32 degrees, it freezes around more of 0 degrees Fahrenheit, which is negative 18 Celsius, which is perfect because our milk and our juice actually need a lower temperature in order to freeze. So for our ice cream and our slushies, the temperature and mixture of the treat needs to be a little bit colder, about negative 18 degrees Celsius, which is about 0 degrees Fahrenheit. Once the salt is added to our slush mixture, it turns into more of a slush slurry. Now the ice still wants to melt. Because the ice still wants to melt, but the salt lowered its freezing point, it has to get energy somewhere to cause the ice to melt. Where does it get it from? That's right, it gets it from your special treat. So your slushy mush, your ice and your salt, will take the energy from your milk or your juice, and it decreases the amount of thermal energy, which is just heat, into the ice to make the ice melt. When you lose the thermal energy from your treat, your milk or your juice, then it freezes. But it doesn't freeze all the way. It becomes this really nice, soft mix to where then you become a nice little treat. So salt is our secret ingredient here, and it lowers the temperature of ice. Lowering the temperature then makes a nice slurry mix to steal the energy essentially from your ice cream or your slushie to make our slushy treat.
Is this freezing? Can I go outside to eat this?
No. When your energy is decreased from your milk or your juice, the particles in the liquid will slow down and slowly become more solid. So our frozen liquid particles will actually move very, very slow starting at our 0 degrees Fahrenheit, causing it to partially freeze to get the nice treat that you are now enjoying. So I'm going to show you real quick a diagram while these two are enjoying their treats, and hopefully you are too. This diagram, which should be in your lab handout, shows you exactly our freezing points of what happens with our solid ice. So normally, our water, pure water, will freeze at 32 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 0 degrees Celsius, and turn into a solid. So as you can see, liquid particles are more free-moving, solid particles are more close together. Once we add salt into our mix, the salt water will actually turn into a slurry at 32 degrees Celsius, meaning, or Fahrenheit, sorry. Therefore, it won't solidly freeze at 32 degrees. Instead, it turns into a slush. The salt lowers the freezing point to about 0 degrees Fahrenheit or negative 18 degrees Celsius, and then it turns into a block of ice, which this is where our ice cream, our milk, and our juice come from because they have extra things in it and not just pure water. So they do need to be at a lower temperature in order to get our freezy treat. And that is the science of homemade ice cream and slushies. Now go on out there, make your own treats.
Bye.
Thanks for watching.